Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insights, and we go as guided. And powerful energies as par for the course, right? We have just had the autumnal equinox. It is What is it? It's fall in the northern hemisphere, and it is spring in the southern hemisphere. And also we're at the midpoint of the eclipses. And so there's a lot of moving energy where we are being called back to our center because there are just tremendous leaps forward. And so let's just take a quick look at some of the main themes we're going to be utilizing and working with. Welcome, Elizabeth. We have Here Comes the Sun, Inner Truth and Trust, Peace and Patience, the Autumnal Equinox, Endings and Beginnings, and the Eclipse Season Midpoint. So, and let me just go right into our main theme, because yes, it is fall, and the equinox is about equal day and night. And our main theme, though, what the unseen was saying to us was, they said, here comes the sun. And so there's this sense of where in the northern hemisphere, the days get shorter, so the light decreases. And of course, in the southern hemisphere, it increases. However, there was an overriding sense of yes, and yes, that's what has occurred. And yet there's this beautiful energy of, here comes the sun, like here comes the light, illumination, amplification, magnification, and this inner truth and trust, going back to our center, to our soul source connection, and how that leads us, guides us, literally advances us forward. And so we're going to work with hexagrams 61 and 52. A lot in today's show. And let me just go very quickly to the energies, the main energies that we're dealing with. So it's the last show of September 2024. It's a 9-month. So this small restraint, surrender. It's the 25th, and there was something about it. It's 9/25/24. So again, here comes the sun in 24/25. It reminded me of Christmas, like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Here comes the sun, this inner truth and trust, and this amplification. And there's great joy, and that's a big word for us. You're going to see this image. I'm going to bring it up really quickly. Joy. There's a lot of joy going on. It may look like mayhem and craziness out there, and yet we're talking about inner joy, inner truth, inner wisdom. and how that resilience carries us through. It's an 8-year all year long, so it's unite. We're coming from the inside out to bring all of the aspects of ourselves together. And by doing so, that ripples out and goes outward to the collective. It's the 24th, return, go back. It's to revisit. It's to relook at things. We've just come out of a Mercury retrograde and everything. So this return, go back to center, go home to your center. And then the 6, and this is where this, so we've got the equinox, equal day and night. In the northern hemisphere, we're quote unquote supposed to receive less light. The southern hemisphere gains more light. And yet there's this overall arching message from the unseen that was about the 6, conflict, let go. But the 6 becoming a 1, the 6, this renewal. And so hexagram 61 is all about, it is known as inner truth. Its action is trust. And that's why here comes the sun, inner truth and trust. It goes along with our mantra, and I just want to bring these in. We're going to front load the show today. Divine wisdom guides me. You're going to see a lot of like yellows and oranges. And yes, that has to do with harvest because it is harvest time. And again, September, the equinox and everything. But it's also about a reminder here of literally like the cornucopia that is divine wisdom, that is our soul source connection. When we listen, when we connect and we listen to that global positioning system, everything is possible. It is true north. We're right on time. We're aligned. And that is the greater message because, the equinox, this harvest, is about endings and beginnings. It is about us harvesting, looking back at the previous 9 months and harvesting what that encompasses, or even from the last year, the last harvest. So September of 2023 forward. And contained in that ending, that harvest, of course, are the seeds of the new beginning. Because, of course, there's a lull, if you will, a moment after the harvest, and then we plant new seeds for the new crop, for the new year. So we have this beautiful mantra, again, of divine wisdom guides me. And if it's not, when I say if it's not guiding you, if you're not listening to it, then bring yourself into alignment, make space, because it is ever present. It never leaves us. So we're going to work with hexagram 61. I want to jump in there. Now, actually, I apologize. We're going to go to what's happening astrologically first. And this is from Pam Youngin's North Point Journal, just to set the stage of what's happening astrologically. And here's the astrological chart. This is the autumn equinox chart. And notice again in the center, in blue, we have our kite formation, where the sun, it's at the top of the wheel in the chart, but it's the base of the kite. So the sun, and directly opposite, so there's an opposition between the sun and Neptune. Neptune, again, can denote illusion, but it also denotes higher ideals, like higher wishes, ideals, a utopia. And so there's this opposition where, with this equinox chart, where we are wanting to burn away the illusion, bring into the light the greater, higher ideals. And so again, this is from Pam Youngin's North Point Journal. She's an amazing astrologer. The land time forgot. We are now navigating the corridor between eclipses, that 2-week period when life seems a bit surreal and time is only a blurry concept. The lunar eclipse in Pisces that took place on September 17th initiated a new phase in our evolutionary growth, opening us to new spiritual light and creative inspirations. New spiritual light and creative inspirations. See, there's, no matter what's normal, customary air quotes normal, that in the Northern Hemisphere, fall, less light, Southern Hemisphere, spring, more light. These eclipses are bringing about evolutionary growth, opening us to new spiritual light. Here comes the sun. There's a greater amplification of light and creative inspirations. Pam goes on to say, at the other end of this passageway, the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd highlights the need to stay mentally and emotionally in balance as we manage times of significant change. And it's very interesting. So the previous eclipse on the 17th, it was late on the 17th in the US. It was the 18th, which was last week's show. So we're literally lined up here at Weekly Wisdom and Insights. We're perfectly aligned for the first eclipse that took place last Wednesday. Today is the midpoint. Next Wednesday, the 2nd of October, is the solar eclipse. So we're right in alignment with these eclipses. She goes on to say Mercury is in the spotlight. The planet Mercury is in the spotlight this week and also during next week's solar eclipse. Whenever Mercury is activated, we work with themes of communication, networking, information sharing, technology, and the need to make logical sense of the world around us. We might also deal with issues related to mental health, our ability to know and stand by our truth, inner truth and trust, and our capacity to make clear, reasonable choices and decisions. Mercury is how we think, how we communicate. It deals with celluloid, with films, things that last, with machinery and so forth. So here, Mercury, during this whole week, is going to be activated. The calendar shows Mercury activity on 5 out of the next 7 days. Although each of the aspects by itself may not be life-changing, the cumulative effect is significant, especially since Mercury is strongly involved in the upcoming solar eclipse. So we have it, bit by bit, putting it together. It's kind of piece by piece. Mercury is being aspected, which means we will be aspected, and how we think, how we communicate, how we interact, contracts, things of this nature. So again, be mindful, because here comes the sun. Things are being magnified and amplified. I keep repeating that, so bear with me. She goes on to say the Saturn-Pluto effect. Outer planets Saturn and Pluto will be exactly semi-square, meaning separated by 45 degrees, this Wednesday, today. This is the second of 3 such Saturn-Pluto aspects within an 8-month period. The first was on May 6th, 2024, and the last will occur on January 26th, 2025. When an aspect perfects 3 times, we work with its influence for many months, with peaks of effect or crisis times near the exact dates. Anytime Saturn and Pluto are in hard aspect, we are likely to deal with situations that feel outside of our control or with obstacles that seem to block our efforts. To be successful when working with Saturn and Pluto, it can help to understand the higher purposes of both planets. And it's important to remember in this equinox chart, the sun is opposing Neptune. Neptune, illusion. So where we think we're experiencing setbacks, delays, obstacles, go deeper. Sit with the moment. Yes, in the moment there may be this obstacle or something. However, that obstacle is for you. It's to help you. It's not to harm you. And there's something under it. There's something perhaps unseen, illusion. So look beyond or through the illusion to see what's really going on so that you're working from your soul source centered state of being. Saturn offers us a reality check with the intention of helping us achieve our true aspirations more successfully. Under Saturn's influence, we want to take stock of our activities, noticing which ones have depleted rather than contributed to our vitality. So in essence, what's a drain on our system? What's a drain on our livelihood, our life force? Where are we, running down rabbit holes or spinning our wheels versus something that's going to actually advance us, that's in alignment, true alignment, inner truth and trust, in true alignment with our inner knowing, our inner truth. We learn to consolidate our efforts by pruning the tree of any dead wood and extraneous branches. Once we do this, we find we actually do have the strength and stamina we need to manifest the goals that are in alignment with our higher self. It is pruning the tree to cut away the dead branches, the dead growth and everything, because it brings greater vitality, greater life force. We have the ability to, with greater conscious awareness, greater life force, to achieve what we're really seeking, as opposed to being depleted, withered by avenues that no longer serve us. People, places, things, whatever it may be, relationships, whatever it might be. It allows us to manifest goals that are in alignment with our higher self. The tree's life force is now channeled more effectively and can support the branches that will yield the best fruit. See, we're talking about the harvest. We're looking at planting seeds for the next crop. So we're looking to yield the best fruit. And to do that, we need a healthy being, ego, mind, personality, soul, source connection, all of it aligned, all of it purified. We've emptied the vessel so that new growth, the best of the best, comes forward. With Pluto, one of our challenges is to be aware of where we may be giving away our power, whether that be to an outer authority, to a situation, or to an emotional state. We can be giving away our power to a label, a script, a story that we're telling ourselves, an identity that we're maintaining. For what purpose? Because it's an illusion. It's not who we are, who you are at your center. Our task under Pluto's guidance is to understand that ultimately we have everything we need within us. Soul, source connection, true north. To reinforce this truth, we may experience the dismantling of old external forms that we have relied on to our detriment. Thus, we experience a death and rebirth, a symbolic death and rebirth process that is one of the signatures of the god of the underworld. Pluto teaches that change must occur if we are to evolve, that the leaves must fall to the ground in autumn to make ready for the new growth in spring. And remember, we have been talking about, from the Harry Potter series of movies, the mandrakes, and how Pluto, it's retrograde in Capricorn, and it's going back to finish business. It is literally going back to shake the roots of the tree of life, of our foundations, our institutions, our beliefs, those things that have been keeping us held back from evolving. And it's just shaken the crud out of us to get all that must fall away to fall, so that, like the mandrakes, when we are repotted, we're being repotted into a larger pot, into a greater vessel, into a greater octave and state of being. And thereby, we're ready for the new growth that occurs in the spring. Because there's so much there. There is so much. It's as if night and day don't exist. It's as if fall and spring don't exist. Or perhaps maybe a better, easier way, this is from the unseen, that there is an eternal spring upon us, within us. Eternal light, eternal spring. Eternal spring as in living waters that activate, awaken. And this is coinciding with the midpoint, the eclipses, the equinox, and this harvest, this ending, and this beginning, this renewal, and how we go about manifesting that in our everyday lives, micro, macro, the whole of the whole. So let's jump into hexagram 61 first. Inner truth. Its action is trust. Its hidden influence, nourishing vision, nurture. We need to nurture ourselves. We need to nurture our bodies, the nutrition, what we put in our bodies, what comes out, our words, our actions, our thoughts, our deeds, what comes out. It's all about nourishing, so that, again, pruning, nourishing, so that we have a healthy body, a healthy being. Its underlining cause, small exceeding, conserve. This is one of the quotes Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought. See, it's not to mimic or replicate someone who's been successful. It's to seek what they sought. They sought something greater than themselves. They sought wisdom, expansion, growth, opportunity. They sought what was unseen. It had yet to be manifested. And this is from Carrie Hone at cafeausol.com, the I Ching and the hexagram 61. And one of our first quotes is, oops, where did it go? Here we go. I believe this is it. Yes. Nature never says one thing and wisdom another. And this is by Decimus Junius Juvenalis. He was a Roman poet. Nature never says one thing and wisdom another. And you see this image of like golden wheat. And wheat has been a symbol for humanity of, biblically, historically. It represents the harvest. It represents the best of the best. Nature never says one thing and wisdom another. It means that nature is wisdom. It follows wisdom. It is true north. It follows true north. It never deviates from true north, from its nature, its divine wisdom, its core center being. As one of the last principles in the Book of Changes, the development of inner truth is perhaps the core message of this entire book. Like Kung Fu, which carefully develops the physical and mental in harmony, Zong Fu, which is inner truth, has a similar message about how the inner and outer worlds align. In the introduction to the Book of Changes of the I Ching, we are told to treat each principle as our parents. We learn from nature and discover that part of us that is unchanging and thriving within. That part that is unchanging and thriving within, that's ever present, constant, is your soul source connection. Tao, active in the individual, is called Te. It is our inner blueprint or design which we will evolve to become. We evolve to become when we allow it, when we are actively, proactively aligning with it, practicing it, listening to our soul source connection, allowing our soul to lead, because that is the inner blueprint and design. In fact, much of life is an opportunity to peel away the layers of conformity that keep us from being who we are meant to be. It's all the shoulda, woulda, couldas. It's the identity, the masks, the labels, the stories, the scripts. All of these things that get layered on top of the soul, that literally it doesn't extinguish it, but it buries it. And here what we're talking about is unlayering it, unpeeling it, peeling away the layers of conformity that keep us from being who we are truly meant to be. Inner truth is a perspective where we stand upon the firm soil of our unique nature and observe events for how they are coaxing our inner nature forward. It's literally, they're giving me the Wizard of Oz and Glinda the Good Witch, where she says to all the munchkins, come out, wherever you are. And all of a sudden they appear from the scenery where they've been hiding. It's about that. It's like saying to your soul, come out wherever you are. Because that is the hidden treasure. That is the real you. And that is the one that so desperately wants to shine. All the other stuff is set dressing. It's an illusion. But when we follow that inner truth and we trust it, it's cosmic gold. It's number 3 from the unseen. Focus on the good. Harvest-plant that gold. Internally, externally. By default, you rise, you gain. So it's about focusing on the good within ourselves, seeing the light, planting the new seeds, harvesting that crop. Because internally and externally, so in other words, do it internally and externally, and by default, you rise, you gain, you reap a greater harvest, a pure harvest. In acupuncture, inner truth is the lung 1 point called the inner treasury. And we see how the development of inner truth is the realization of the wellspring within, the living waters, the tree of life, the wellspring. We move into life and are buffeted about by following others, misreading signs, and casting judgment. See, all of these things, those are all ego, mind, personality, where we're following activity, following others, misreading signs, casting judgment, instead of just simply listening to our soul source connection. Stillness, it's number 5. Stillness and alignment, which is hexagram 52, which we'll get to. At some point, we can become lost. What will it take to return you to your authenticity, to your soul self, to your inner child, your soul self, to the one that before life experiences layered upon you, the one that was full of innocence and joy? Anything's possible. I can experience it. I can have it all. I can do this. It is available to me. I just need only seek it, be it. It's not outside of me. What is needed to allow you to quiet the mind of worry and see the beauty of grace unfolding in each moment? What is needed? One word, and it's our keyword, cultivation. Let me just bring that up. It's our keyword, cultivation. And in cultivation, the act or art of acquiring or developing a quality or skill. It's culture, it's refinement. The act of caring for or raising something. The loosening or breaking up, the tilling of soil. So when we cultivate, when we plant a harvest, literally a vineyard or whatever it may be, the crops, we're cultivating. It's a cultivation. We're loosening and breaking up the soil to plant new seeds. It's also the act or art of acquiring, developing a quality or skill. Self-cultivation, the development of one's mind or capacities through one's own efforts. So here we're looking at the one thing that's required of us is cultivation. To cultivate these qualities that may lie dormant or just bubbling, cracking to the surface, or we already have them and we can magnify them. There's a greater abundance of them. But the one word that's required of us is cultivation. It is to cultivate our soul source connection. It's to cultivate allowing our soul to lead. It's about cultivating to release the ego, mind, personality, put it in the sidecar, as we've said, and allow the soul to lead, to drive. The underlying cause of small exceeding suggested flying under the radar, tending to the small things and reducing visibility. See, for millennia, perhaps since the fall as in the fall from grace, Eden, Adam and Eve, and so forth, we've been playing it small. We have not been our true divine selves. Well, we have not been playing that. That has not been leading. What has been leading is our ego, mind, personality, this fallen or shadow state, this belief that it's us doing something versus the divine through us. And so small exceedings suggested flying under the radar, tending to small things, reducing our visibility, not living up to our greatest potential. But now it is time to go out and test your vision while interacting with others. See, now is time. Here comes the sun. The first thing the unseen said, peace and patience, ... The wait is over. We've been patient. We have worked towards inner peace, outer peace. And we have done it in the shadow of being small from this fall from quote unquote grace, from our divinity. And yet it's a fall. It's not a disconnection. We have been ever connected. The soul is ever present, the unseen. God, Spirit, Source, Symphony, the unseen, Allah, Buddha, the all that is, has been ever present. It is within us. It's constantly there. So now it's a time to reveal ourselves. When you are centered in Te and observant but not reactive, life seems to flow more gently. If you believe you must be like others, life will prod you back upon your path, which can feel uncomfortable when you are unwilling to go there. See, if you're holding tight to the ego, mind, personality, the masks, the identities, the labels, the scripts, the stories, it's going to feel uncomfortable because you've yet to surrender them. You've yet to see beyond the illusion of them. You've yet to hone, experience, connect to inner truth and trust. The minute you do, you're back on your path. Because it's like the soul sits there. The soul sits there like right on the path. Here's your path. It's straight. It's right here, straight and narrow, so to speak. And your soul is sitting on the path. Your ego, mind, personality runs off over here and runs off over there. The soul doesn't leave you. This came up in a client reading. The soul is right where you left off. It's right where you left it. It's right on the path of true north. And so it can feel uncomfortable until you get back to it. Nourishing vision as the hidden influence appears in many of the hexagrams because we must go forward, and we must also take time to turn within, to listen, meditate, listen, receive. This is what happens when we dream. We have experiences and place judgments upon them that are sometimes incorrect. Ego would have us constantly avoiding any threat to how it upholds the status quo, or its constant pursuit of comfort and stroking. See, it's the ego believes that it's in control when the soul is really the one that's in control. And the ego is constantly avoiding any threat. Oh, I don't know, we haven't done that. Or I don't know, we haven't honed that soul muscle. We haven't honed that skill. So I don't trust it. So I'm going to keep you over here off the main path. I'm going to keep you over here. But the minute you say to the ego, it's okay, thank you, it's okay, I'm going to listen to my soul. I'm going to get back on true north. We, ego, mind, personality, self, and soul self, we are going to get back on track. It dissipates. The monkey mind, the chatter, the fear, the anxiety dissipates. It doesn't mean we won't have butterflies in our stomach, but that's part of exercising the soul, inner truth and trust. When you observe nature, you will see that finding protection to remain stagnant is not an option. All things in life are growing, and all things are evolving from the blueprint or seed within. No matter what is unfolding around you, take time out to ensure that you are being true to yourself. Nothing can hide from nature. Remember, we had that discussion, like it's biblical where people are trying to hide from God at the second coming. You can't. It's impossible. And so it's the same thing here, where it's not something where you hide, where nature hides from its source connection. When you observe nature, you will see that finding protection to remain stagnant is not an option. All things are growing. No matter what is unfolding around you, take time out to ensure that you are being true to yourself. It's about putting your oxygen mask on first and then assisting others. Nothing can hide from nature. React less and simply be responsive. As the image of an arrow hitting the center of a target and a bird's claw encircling a hatchling, inner truth offers the idea of both capture and protection. By holding to your center, you will always hit the mark. So holding to your soul source connection, listening to your divine inner truth, wisdom, and trusting it, it's a bullseye. Boom. It's always a bullseye. It's always about, you will always hit the mark. Go off, procrastinate, delay, have the ego, mind, personality, believe it's in charge and whatever. It's going to be an outer ring or a miss, or, it'll always be purposeful. It will always be purposeful. However, the goal is not to go astray. The goal is to stay true north. Welcome, Alicia. Through being limited, things are made dependable. So see, by playing small, we become dependent on it. And they become, quote unquote, dependable. Oh, I know that beast. I can trust it. I don't want to leave it. I don't want to go and see what's on the other side of who I believe I am. See how much mental, how much illusion, how much playing it small, being small, how, quote unquote, dependable that is. And yet it's not. It's stagnant. It keeps us from growing. Hence follows the image of inner truth. The wind blows over the lake, while the mountain and thunder are stirring within. Inner truth offers a message about achieving steady and joyous movement, even while you open yourself to every possibility for renewal. See, it's about joy. And just bringing up this image again of joy. And it's number 2 from the unseen. It was literally the word joy. And they said, and a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. That's the definition of joy. Then the unseen said, I heard the word unexplainable. So in other words, unexplainable joy. Then explainable, seemingly out of nowhere. And joy is the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune. So the point here with this joy and hexagram 61, where we're talking about how inner truth brings joyous movement. What the unseen is telling us all is this joy can come out of nowhere. It can be unexplainable joy. It just comes over you. Or it can be explainable in the sense that it's something you've been working towards. It's something that you've been desiring. In either case, it's this emotion that is evoked by well-being, by success, or good fortune. It's the harvest. It is, here comes the sun, this magnification and amplification of the light, which brings about joy. Joy. Because it opens us to every possibility for renewal. Inner truth has 2 open lines within the hexagram, which are surrounded by firm lines. This openness at the center reveals great power. Because it's our second quote, a heart that remains open can be guided by inner truth. See, it's when our heart is open, our ego, mind, personality follows. When we trust ourselves, our soul source connection, we go as guided. There is an inner peace, there is a joy. And this openness, a heart that remains open, can be guided by inner wisdom. By inner truth, pardon me, is the truth. With an open heart, anything's possible. Because we're willing to see, we're willing to trust, we're willing to navigate, invest, release, let go, advance. We're not stuck or stagnant. Difficulty is always transformed once you can approach it like a question rather than an obstacle. A heart that is free of prejudice in meeting adversity will discover only favorable circumstances. See, a heart that is free of prejudice in meeting adversity, it doesn't see it as adversity. It sees the adversity, the obstacle, as opportunity. There are no mistakes, there's only choices. And so when an open heart, with a free heart, we're free of prejudice, we can see through the illusion that the adversity or the obstacle is an opportunity, and we discover only favorable circumstances. I used to say to my contractors, they would say to me, we have a problem. And I said, no, we don't have a problem. We have an opportunity. What's the issue? well, that immediately fundamentally changes. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. What's the issue? Shifts it to a different octave. To activate nature's transformative power within, you must remain objective in meeting the necessary tension that keeps you evolving. Do not fall prey to the illusion that when you reach the height of your inner truth, circumstances will not continue to further shape you. See, it's endless. It's not as though we get to some point or place in life or on our path and all of a sudden we're done. No, we continue to evolve and ascend and transcend. We continue to hone and polish all that is great and good within us. It may come in the cloak of opposites. We may choose to do it from an adversarial place or position. However, contained within that element is the higher octave of our greatness, of our good. So it continues to further shape us. Be not sad. Tension is the driving force of evolution. See, with the tension, it gets us moving, it gets us thinking, it's challenging us to find the way to, the way through. It is not there to beat us up. However, you can begin to see tension as evolving peace, where peace must then give way to further transformations. See, it's not to become complacent, to get lulled in. Peace and patience, the wait is over. Because it means that peace and patience evolves into further transformations. Moving joyfully through life's fluctuating movement and harmony allows you to find comfort in the way of change. It allows us to become comfortable. What's the one constant in life? Change. So it's to become comfortable with change. It's to see, and everything is energy. So change, obstacles, adversaries, tension, it's all energy. So how do we harness that energy for us? Oh, I see. Okay. The soul is wanting me to do something that my ego, mind, personality, playing it small, doesn't want to do. But the soul wins. The soul will always win. And so the more we become comfortable with change, celebrate, be joyous with change, the greater our life experience becomes, the greater our expansion. Life continuously shakes you free from any stagnant way of thinking. It's Pluto and Capricorn, the mandrakes, they're shaking the foundations. Life continuously shakes you free from any stagnant way of thinking. We've already been there, done that with where we are, so it's about where we're going, where you're going. You may give in after a long struggle or endless defeat. And this, quote, giving in reveals how the pathway could not have been otherwise. See, it reveals you. It doesn't define you. It refines you. It reveals you. Forced to make minor changes, these changes become significant to your success. Because once we surrender to them, we're the most empowered. We're able to shake off that old, dead root or tree limb or leaves or whatever to create new growth. This small shift in acceptance goes a long way in reducing anxiety. It is no simple thing to say. This is our last quote. Know contentment and you are rich. And contentment, biblically, contentment is an inward trust in God's sovereignty and goodness. So this is about spiritually, this is about an inward trust in your soul's sovereignty and goodness. Because your soul emanates from Source, God, Buddha, all that is, however you identify. That is the purity of who you are at your center, of your being. The dictionary definition of contentment is straightforward. The state of being satisfied with what one is or has, not wanting more or anything else. And so, know contentment and you are rich. It literally is rich in the moment, rich at all times. It's a state of being. Contentment is a state of being. Knowing that everything is perfectly aligned, I'm in alignment with my soul source connection, and I am following the path, Follow the yellow brick road from The Wizard of Oz. It leads you, where did it lead Dorothy? Home. And where she wanted to be, what she wanted for herself, her soul source connection, was within her the entire time. So now let's look at hexagram 52 very quickly. Because it was number 5 from the unseen, and they said stillness and alignment. And I knew that it was hexagram. I was like, oh, there's a hexagram about stillness. It's hexagram 52. Its action is meditate. When we pray, we're speaking to the unseen, to God the unseen. When we meditate, we receive. And so it's hidden influence, 40, liberation, untangle. So we're untangling all of these layers that have kept us down and allowed us to be small. It's underlining cause, 58, joy, encourage, putting up the image, joy. We're going to keep, if there's a word that you want to repeat over and over and over again during this time of the equinox, the eclipse, these energies that will arc out, keep saying to yourself the word joy, and keep working with our mantra, which is divine wisdom guides me. Both very powerful. To the mind that is still, the entire universe surrenders. In meditation or yoga, people learn to quiet the chatter of the, quote, monkey mind, which is always focused on need, fear, or what is wrong in the world. See, the ego mind personality is always on alert. It's always wanting to protect us. However, it fails to remember that the soul leads us. It guides us. And so the ego mind personality is meant to function in service to and with the soul. The soul leads. The ego mind personality is the action that is married with it, that brings it to life. It's not the other way around. And it's not to leave the soul absent from the equation. Using the mind to force the body to do what it wouldn't do naturally is the only way to achieve stillness. The hidden influence of liberation asks you to untangle the thoughts that have you on the hamster wheel. See, it's about untangling. It's about calming the mind. It's okay. Don't ever look to kill the shadow, kill the ego mind personality. That's not the moral of the story. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What you want to do is make peace with your ego mind personality. Reassure it. It's okay. It's okay. I know you're nervous. We're nervous. It's okay. Let's just suspend that so that we can receive, so we can hear what the soul is guiding us to do, to untangle the thoughts, to get off the hamster wheel. It is time to get disciplined and learn to control your fear-based thinking. In the image of 2 mountains or 2 men with their backs to each other, we go into the inner temple and forget all about all that is going on around us. So we don't get caught up in the illusion, in the chaos that's swirling around us. We stay in the eye of the storm, in the eye of the hurricane. Stillness, peace. This doesn't mean we should always negate experience. It simply means that prior to resuming activity, it is sometimes good to take a sabbatical. So before we act, ego mind personalities, Mars energy, creative force, before we act, listen. Don't allow our life experiences to define us. Allow them to refine you. Where the underlying cause of joy or encouragement showed participation in events and interactions with others, you were asked to be still and turn inward. In this situation, someone is not doing what you expect them. In this situation, someone is not doing what you expect them to do. You too may need to stop all the activity and quiet the mind. See, because again, it's not about getting others to do what we want them to do. That means we're looking outward. That means we're in ego mind personality. That we're in shadow work at that point. However, when we just say, okay, namaste, I bow to the divine in you. You do you, boo. You do you. I'm going to go and listen. I'm going to still myself. I'm going to listen. And then I'm going to marry my ego, my personality, my will, and my action in service to and with my soul. It's a game changer. It's a whole new way of being. It's a whole new world. And it doesn't matter. It's not dependent on what someone else does. That becomes irrelevant because you finally see with clear eyes, with new eyes. And that allows you to move forward. Whatever your query, whatever your question, now is not the time to act, and you need to stop and be still. Perhaps you will discover something you hadn't considered when you can quiet the mind of its chatter and listen to the sound of the breath emanating from the heart. The heart center is the soul center. It's where the soul resides within us. And so this is about, at this time of harvest, of equinox, of advance, of focusing on the good, harvesting and planting that gold. We need to be able to stop and still ourselves and listen to know what that gold is. Where is it to be planted? Where are we to move? What are we to release? What are we to open ourselves to? Because number 4 from the unseen, moving beyond, quote, the moment, humanity advances, achieves victory. It's number 4, it's foundational. So the unseen is saying to us, moving beyond the moment, this illusion, humanity advances, achieves victory. The Sabian symbols for the autumnal equinox support that. And it is, again, it is about harvest time. It's about endings and beginnings. It's about stillness and alignment. It is about cultivation. It is about cultivating, because imagine, again, in the analogy of a vineyard, you don't want just some vineyard, or pardon me, some crappy vineyard. You want the vineyard. You want the best of the best. And likewise, if you were on the receiving end of that vineyard, meaning the purchase of that produce or that wine or whatever it might be, would you be okay with it being crappy? Or do you look, when you walk into a market or a grocery store, or you look to a vineyard, a label, a wine, don't you look for the best of the best? Don't you seek that out? Don't you want that for yourself? That's what all of this is speaking to. Here comes the sun. And we have talked about this, S-U-N, S-O-N. So let's look with the hexagrams for the equinox chart. The lot of fortune symbol is an aristocratic family tree. The keynote is a deep reliance upon the ancestral roots of individual character. And these are from Dane Rudyard's An Astrological Mandala. This 4th stage symbol, strange as it may seem to many people, suggests a technique which, at critical times, must be used. And this is a critical time. This is a massive transformation and transition for us, from patriarchal to matriarchal, from Piscean to Aquarian. This peaceful transfer of power and advance. It characterizes the means for true success. Joy, the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune. One returns to the roots to produce the flowering of personality, if this flower is to bring forth a living seed. Root power is essential to seed achievement. So this, again, it's going back to our roots. It's going back to our origin, to our soul source center. And from that place, and it's the lot of fortune. And so it's what's on offer. It's where we're going, it's symbolic of the North Node in a sense, but it's the lot of fortune. It's the victory. And that victory is the living seed. It's the root power from where we originally came from. It's not from where we came from in terms of like coming into life. It's far more than that. It's who we are as divine beings, not just, or divine human beings. It's going back to the root power of our divinity. Mercury playing a big role. A lion tamer displays his or her skill and character. The keynote, the need to tame one's vital energies to fulfill one's destiny. Tame vital energies. Ego, mind, personality. The active, the creative force. We see here the development of the concept of training. The true aristocrat is the individual who is in complete control of their vital and emotional energies. At the spiritual level, this includes the overcoming of pride, of ego, pride in one's strength and mastery, and the pride attached to an exalted status or social office. See, it's about overcoming the masks, the identities, the labels, the scripts, the stories, all these things that we layer on top of the soul and say, oh, that's who I am. That's an illusion. So this is about great mastery and the overcoming of all of those things so that we get to the root power of who we are. The meaning of this phase of development is traditional and evident. The whole process of social, ethical, and occult spiritual conditioning of the individual aims at the control of man's animal nature. See, it's the shadow, it's the fall aspect. So we're looking to, when we say overcome, it's to tame. It's the strength card in the tarot. It's to overcome that animalistic nature that we all have so that we rise above in a way. We're an octave higher. We're in our divine state of being. Implied in any successful process of taming and training is resoluteness and patience. See, it's about being resolute. It's being about committed, aligned, exercising that soul, S-O-U-L, muscle. Because we exercise our brains, we exercise our bodies, we exercise our nutrition. We rarely, if ever, many 8 billion souls on the planet, exercise their souls, commit to their souls, commit to that alignment, to that inner truth, and trust it. And this is Mercury. So it's about being resolute, be patient, but be aligned. And just very quickly, because I'm going to post all of the Sabian symbols for the equinox chart on the Dearjames Facebook show thread. However, the sun, the vertex, the south node, what we're releasing, and Lilith are all, and Venus are all in Libra. Justice, blind justice, harmony, equality, the feminine. So I'm just going to give you a very quick sampling because they're very important for this chart and for these energies. The sun and the vertex. In a collection of perfect specimens of many biological forms, a butterfly displays the beauty of its wings, its body impaled by a fine dart. The keynote is the immortal archetypal reality that a perfect and dedicated life reveals. Perfect and dedicated meaning being your soul source self, not your ego, mind, personality self. And this is a very long Sabian symbol, but I'm just going to give you the conclusion. This is the first, pardon me, this is the first statement in the 13th scene of the great ritual drama, life. It is an actional phase because in it, the perfection of individual activity is revealed and immortalized. Pardon me. They're choking me up, the unseen. This is the symbolical transfiguration at the Mount of Transfiguration. At the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus, the Son of Man, was impaled by the ray of divine light, making of him a son of God. It was at this very moment that he learned of the crucifixion awaiting him. Thus, pardon me, y'all. Thus, the merely human individual is made sacred, becoming the pure embodiment of an archetype. Boy, they really want to get this. See, the purging, the cleansing, the get it out, the choking up. The sun is at this degree. The sun and the vertex are at this degree. This is about calling us back to a perfected state, reminding us of our perfected state, our perfected origin, the purity of that, the goodness of it, the light of it, and thus being made sacred. With the South Node, a woman, it's about what we're releasing, a woman feeding chickens and protecting them from the hawks. The keynote, the need to face the antagonism of powers of darkness as one attempts to feed the mind of yet helpless and frightened apprentices. See, this is about facing the shadow, facing the fears, facing the illusions that keep us stuck, stagnant, dependent. The most basic law of our universe is that every release of new potentialities or modes of energy brings about a polarization of effects, brings about its opposite. That is, the new potentiality will be used both for construction and destruction. It will arouse individuals or groups and nations to take a series of steps which will lead some to greater success, others to deeper failure. Those that are willing to advance, to open their heart, to embrace, to align, will open themselves to greater success. Those who wish to cling and hold to the past and not advance and be dependent and so forth and be stubborn leads to greater destruction, deeper failure. Whoever makes possible this new release must accept the karma of both the success and the failure, because in the ideals of both, in each, both exist. When Jesus showered his immense love upon lukewarm, self-centered individuals, it inevitably came to be turned into violent hatred when these soul minds were unable to cope with its frightening intensity. So, up and down the chain, we're all at different places in states of evolution, of ascendance. When this great light comes, here comes the sun. When Jesus showered his immense love upon lukewarm, self-centered individuals, it inevitably, those that were not ready, couldn't accept the intensity of the light, of the sun. It inevitably came to be turned into violent hatred with these soul minds who were unable to cope with the frightening intensity of it. Jesus had to accept spiritual responsibility for those who crucified him. He had to see through the illusion. And yet, what did he do? He maintained his alignment. He maintained his calling, his soul source connection, what his soul said it would do. At this second stage, we witness the contrast between the ideal situation envisioned clearly by the creative consciousness and what it will be in actual operation. The ideal versus reality. It can be, both exist. Thus, the forever present struggle involved in making it possible for the future-oriented actualizers of an ideal to survive the attacks of tradition-worshipping minds that can only follow the lines of automatic response. They don't know how to do something else. So there's going to be attacks, it's going to be weaponized, and so forth. They're going to attack the ideal. But the keynote is guardianship. So like in the example here of this Sabian symbol, Master Jesus was the guardian. He protected, and for 2,000 plus years, look how prevalent, prominent, at the forefront, his experience, his offering, his message has lasted, afforded us. It didn't mean that it didn't come without shadow elements. We're experiencing that right now at this moment of change. Master Jesus came at the change of the Piscean area, Aryan area, Aries to Pisces. So Aryan to Piscean. We now stand at the threshold of Piscean to Aquarian. So the ideals that are being offered, what is being shown to us in the advance, come what may, it does not mean that it will not be attacked, or there won't be those that cannot accept the greatness of its light, of its offering. However, that is an individual choice for each of us to make. The unseen is saying, choose the light, choose the greatness, choose the alignment, choose to follow your soul. It is your divine self, your true self, and it will never, ever leave you. There is so much more here, and maybe it becomes a part 2 for October. However, I'm mindful of the time. So Lilith is having passed safely through narrow rapids, a canoe reaches calm waters, and it talks about relief. So it says that we will make it. We will get there. And Venus, 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head, the fulfillment of man's power of understanding at whatever level of existence the person operates. This speaks to a holistic approach to knowledge based on universals, meaning based on the soul. And a holistic meaning, we had that word a few shows back, holistic meaning whole. A whole approach, W-H-O-L-E, a whole approach to knowledge. This is, and it's a Venus, it's the divine feminine. This is about recreating, reclaiming, becoming aware again of our wholeness, our oneness, inside, individually, and collectively. And that come what may, you make the choice. Each of us makes an individual choice as to whether we accept the light, the greatness on offer, the advance, or the darkness, the destruction, the chaos, the confusion. The choice is up to each of us. And the unseen is saying, choose the light. Just as they did at the time of Master Jesus. Choose the light. So that's where we are. We complete the month of September. We are midpoint between the eclipses, and we've just passed the experienced the equinox energies. And the moral of the story, it's all about here comes the sun, inner truth and trust, peace and patience, the wait is over, joy, and it can be unexplainable joy, explainable joy, come seemingly out of nowhere, but it's about evoking well-being, success, and good fortune. It's a reminder, focus on the good, harvest and plant that gold. It's about moving beyond the moment because humanity advances and achieves victory. And when in doubt, seek stillness and alignment because it is literally, they had given me, it's God's word, it's the perfected state. So in the stillness and the alignment, the soul source connection, you receive divine wisdom, knowledge, guidance, liberation. You untangle all that has been layering you and holding you down and back. And from that state of grace and being, it magnifies, it ripples out. Look forward to seeing you all next month. New energies, a continuation of these energies, because of course we're midpoint on the eclipses. And so until then, be well, be safe, and be joyful. Practice joy internally, externally. Practice joy. Be joy. Be joyful. We will see you next week. I love you all. Until then, be well.